Get to know Wilmington University online or in person at their open house on May 4th. Details and RSVP at wilmu.edu/open house. Hey, welcome to the Sixers Talk podcast brought to you by Wilmington University. Wilmu Works, Danny Pommells along with Ben Berry here, and the Sixers take care of business 132-97. They eviscerate the Raptors in Game 6 in front of their home crowd, and Joel Embiid was loving every minute of it down the stretch, even though he took an elbow to the grill and kind of paid the price for it. Compliments of Pascal Siakam. But it was a great day for Philly sports, Ben. The Sixers get the W. They're moving on to round 2. The Phillies win and take care of business, a 4-game winning streak. The Eagles trade for A.J. Brown, draft Jordan Davis. The vibes are pretty immaculate right now.
Philadelphia fans are excited. Phillies, 4-game winning streak now? The Sixers advance to the second round. Eagles made the trade for arguably one of the best receivers in the NFL. There's a lot of reasons to be excited if you're a Philadelphia sports fan right now.
Man, we look at what these Sixers did as they move on to face the Miami Heat. I need to confess, I did not think they were winning a Game 7 at home with the pressure and intensity that would have put on the Sixers. I mean, we've seen what they've done in the past in situations like that. But I didn't want Doc Rivers to be in another situation like that, and they went out and executed. They were leading after the first quarter, leading after the second quarter, really blew things open there in the second half. And it led to a victory that they had to get in order to continue to push toward being what on paper they appear to be. And shout out Tyrese Maxey for stepping up and James Harden for setting the tone. I really look at those two guys as really the momentum that has shifted this. Of course, Joel Embiid was something you could rock steady depend on, but it was the way Harden came out and set that tone and the way Maxey complimented him that really pushed him over the top. Harden a plus 38 in this game.
So Doc Rivers' press conference or media scrum the other day didn't have me feeling confident whatsoever. I saw that. It was like, it's a wrap, boys.
He was doing a lot of explaining, right?
It's a wrap. That's the same. All that explaining is the same thing you do before your parents laid a smack down for something you did in school or something you wasn't supposed to do. But Sixers came out. For me, it was Harden played well right out the gate, as well as other players. But it was that third quarter by the Sixers, which just blew the doors open. They outscored the Raptors by 20 points, 37-17 that quarter. And Tyrese Maxey went off starting the second half, made 3 threes, 11 points in that third quarter. It was just wild what Doc Rivers did with the rotation, subbing in Paul Reed when Embiid would normally play, some of the adjustments. It was just everything was hitting on all cylinders. They shot 11 for 19 in the third quarter. They were leading coming out of halftime. It was 1 point. That third quarter blew it wide open. And when the Raptors tried to make a run to cut the gap, cut it down, they just couldn't spark anything. Anytime they made a shot, the Sixers came back down and answered. It was an all-around great performance in that second half, but it's a team win.
Yeah, I want to give Doc Rivers a lot of credit. I want to kind of shelve that so we can kind of handle this Maxey and Harden stuff for a second. And, bro, when I saw Harden go down the lane and dunk that basketball like he was turning back the clock 5 years, I was like, oh, okay. He came out here knowing what the expectations were and was ready to meet them, because so many times in South Philly, the Sixers just don't seem to meet the challenge and the intensity that the other team is bringing. But Harden was there to set the tone in this game, and that dunk was all I needed to see to know how serious he was taking it. There have been a couple of moments there where he had turned the ball over or had gotten into the paint and didn't quite have his whereabouts with him and turn the ball over or lost it or whatever. But he got some early buckets, including that dunk coming down the paint where it didn't even seem like the Raptors expected him to do that, because Pascal Siakam was standing right there under the rim. He didn't even try to challenge it, and Harden yoked on his head. So that was the tone setter that let me know, okay, well, this ain't going to be one of those sleepwalk games, and Harden's not going to let that happen.
Harden was tired of people dragging his name through the mud. Like, yo, y'all gonna stop talking about me performing bad in the playoffs and big games. So that dunk, it surprised the Raptors. It surprised me. He got up there. It was a little bit of burst, but Harden 22 points plus 38 in the plus minus column, dished out 15 assists. Still would have liked to see him take more shots, as we discussed earlier this week or last week. Going forward, we will need more than 10 shots a game, 12 shots a game from Harden. It was efficient with 7 of 12, and he was 6 of 6 from the line. So I'm not complaining by any means. It was definitely a great performance by Harden. Second round, playing the Miami Heat is going to be tougher. We will need more from him.
But styles make fights, though. So the style the Raptors presented, we thought would present some problems. We thought that their length would be an issue. We thought that the way they can be interchangeable on defense would be a problem. And especially when Fred VanVleet was off the floor, the Sixers didn't really have anybody to attack on the offensive side of the ball. So the Raptors had the length and all of that interchangeableness, the positionless basketball they play to kind of disrupt the Sixers, and it worked really well. I like the way they came out and set the tone in this one and took care of business. I feel like, I'm going to need more from Harden, but it isn't just on him to pick up the slack when Joel is down. It definitely falls on Maxey and Tobias as well. But I just think James needs to be aggressive. And okay, he only shot one more shot than he did last game, but you could feel the difference in the impact he had on the game. And that dunk was a great example of it, but that dunk was the catalyst for some of those step back threes later, which helped. I'm sure the dunk helped with his confidence, and the step back threes later, which were falling, and him, screaming coming down the court. That's what people fell in love with those first few games, in fact, when he was with the 76ers and they were playing so well, because he was being aggressive and he was doing things that, you knew he was capable of, but maybe Brooklyn didn't bring it out of him. But, I had told people that it didn't look like Harden had an extra gear for the playoffs, and it didn't seem like he had that, but he had it tonight, and we'll see how it works out in Miami. And I think they're better with Miami. And we see Kyle Lowry having a hamstring issue. Jimmy Butler missed a game in that series. We saw what they did to Tyler Hero, isolating him on the offensive end, and how he couldn't stay in front of guys. So I think the Sixers have more of an opportunity to have their strengths play in their favor against Miami, where here against the Raptors, they were kind of spread a little thin, and just too many live bodies on that Raptors end to the Sixers just don't have the personnel to keep up with those many live bodies.
Might have to disagree with you, Danny. I think the Raptors, they play that positionless basketball a little better. The other game might have been game 2, the Raptors versus the Hawks. But it was PJ Tucker that picked up Trey Harden. Then it went to Jimmy. Then went to Bam Adebayo, all within 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And Trey said he's never been defended like that since AAU, if ever. The Heat can definitely throw different bodies at James Harden, whoever is on the Sixers. I think.
But the thing is, like, Bam, isn't going to be able to play that far from the basket because he's going to be stuck to Joel. So all that, switching Bam on the tray, I don't think they're going to see that as much, or a guy like Maxey or any point guard.
I would not be shocked to see that a little from the Heat, from Spo, who's a phenomenal coach in my opinion. I would not be shocked to see that. I think it would be ridiculous for them to have PJ to put PJ Tucker on Embiid at times, but I think that's ridiculous. I also am prepared to see it because they will have the players switching nonstop.
Yeah, I definitely want to give Maxey some more love before we move on to the Heat series. But, you bring up some good points for sure. I just feel like with the double team at Joel Embiid, we see triple teams that he demands with the Raptors, and Harden still demanding all the attention when he has the ball in his hand. That's what's been freeing up, Tobias and Danny Green and Tyrese Maxey to hit some of these threes. But when I see Maxey pull up from East Jablip and drill that 3-pointer. I just knew that the momentum had shifted because when he's shooting with that type of confidence, it just continues to build. I mean, he's the type of guy that, you look at his 3-point percentage numbers, you're like, oh man, well, who is this kid, shooting like that? Like that, he can't sustain that. But man, when he gets hot, you talk about streaky shooters, this dude is hitting from all over the floor. And the beauty of his shot is that it looks the same from anywhere. The way he squares to the basket, his feet, his shoulders, the release point, it just all looks the same wherever he is on the floor. So I see in the Heat series maybe not being as defensive as this Raptors series being. So there'll be more opportunities to play to Maxi's strengths of running and gunning and getting up and down the floor. And obviously no one is keeping up with him when he's full speed like that. So styles make fights, man. And I feel like what the Raptors did to the Sixers, they're going to learn from that, take that into the Heat series. And as a team that's more battle tested than Miami because they didn't quite get the challenge that the Sixers did when they played the Atlanta, I think the Sixers do bring more momentum into this series against Miami than the Heat do. So I think those all play in the Sixers' favor. Say your piece. I do want to get to the Doc Rivers stuff in a little bit, but we got to give Joel Embiid some props too.
Embiid played phenomenal. Maxi's played his best game since game 2, I would say. The Heat, you say more battle tested. I believe you want to come back to this, or you want to hit it right now.
Go ahead, say what you got to say.
Oh, I mean, the Heat just went to the finals 2 years ago. A lot of that core is still there. They added PJ Tucker.
Why are we putting so much stock in the bubble? Why does the bubble have to come back up? Are we really?
Did they? If you go Google, did they not go to the finals that year?
It was the bubble finals. That don't count.
So you one of those people that don't think LeBron James ring count because it's the bubble.
How you go from being in the finals in the bubble to not even making the playoffs 2 years later? So it doesn't give validity to the bubble title.
You got to remember, all those teams had a very short offseason after that. They had less than 60 days, definitely less than 90 before they ramped it back up for the following season. So injuries, short rests all played a role. The Heat definitely are battle tested. They have veterans. They have something I think that you need to have a deep playoff run and be a very good team. Wings that can play both ways. If you look around the East, it's Miami, it's Boston, it's Milwaukee. They all have wing players that are very good on offense as well as defense. That's something that's needed. And with the Heat, they play that positionless basketball that is very interchangeable. I don't believe in momentum and all that. Maybe the Sixers have it. I don't think momentum makes you execute any better. I think it's going to be a very good series going forward. And we'll see what happens.
Let's get some props to Doc Rivers, bro. You mentioned a couple of the adjustments he made. He played Paul Reed earlier in the first quarter and at times when our usual Joel Embiid minutes to try to disrupt what the Raptors were doing. There was a point where he put Furkan Korkmaz in because the Raptors were playing that zone so much exclusively that they needed to put another shooter in to try to stretch that zone defense and try to get into some of the seams there. So, overall in the series, Nick Nurse was whining to the fans. I saw somebody tweet out that Nick Nurse is the Kyle Lowry of coaches. So I thought that was pretty funny, but but Nick Nurse, with the gamesmanship, got the refs on his side, and that turned the tide a bit. The Sixers definitely have themselves to thank for some of what the Raptors were able to do, particularly in games 4 and 5. But we didn't get the sweep. They got the win. Sixers are moving on to the second round. Doc Rivers has avoided that 3-1 nonsense, and I didn't like what I heard from him, like you said, when he was trying to explain his way out of why he shouldn't have the stigma he has with blowing 3-1 leads. But this will be another opportunity for him to show he deserves to be one of the top 10 winningest coaches of all time, that he deserves, to be lauded for his past successes and what he's been able to do with this Sixers team right now, particularly without Ben Simmons and this year, with getting James Harden late and helping this unit become cohesive. and Tyrese Maxey's progression. You can give that to him as well. So I think Matisse Thybulle is coming back, though, full time to the roster. I would continue to play Danny Green as a starter because I like Matisse coming off the bench. But I could see Doc wanting to put Matisse and his athleticism up against the Heat players right away. But are you higher on Doc Rivers than you have been in the past?
No. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. No. I mean, he did what he's supposed to do. The Sixers have no business losing in the first round. And I know he's upset. I understand why he's upset for people to always bring up his record. And as he pointed out in that media scrum, his record in the playoffs and closeout games. But he was supposed to get past the first round. I mean, Brett Brown did that every 3 to 4 times he took the Sixers to the playoffs. And you're supposed to do that if you have an MVP level caliber player on your team. You're supposed to get out the first round. It's getting out the second round, making it to the Eastern Conference Finals is where Doc will earn his paycheck, I guess, or really set himself apart where he can hush some of the criticism from either me or a bunch of fans, media members, even though most of the media loves him. Still mind-boggling when he snapped like that, came off like really salty and frustrated, which, again, I understand. But getting out the first round and losing 2 really embarrassing games to the Raptors and outplayed by the Raptors, because outside of that game-winning shot by Embiid, the Raptors outplayed the Sixers in Game 3. Just getting out the first round doesn't change the narrative.
Yeah, I feel like I feel you on that. I just feel like he was so much on the hot seat because of the past failures that when it goes, they can't get the sweep. Okay, the gentleman's sweep goes out the window, and then you're in this do or die 2-game situation. I think he rose to the occasion, and it will be interesting to see how he matches up with Eric Spoelstra, because I think it will come down to some valuable possessions, some decision making, and obviously the Sixers don't have home court in this series, so they'll only have 3 games in South Philly if it goes to 7. So there will need to be some kind of stealing a game here or there for them to be able to win this series, and then it doesn't get any easier depending on facing the Celtics or the Bucks. So I think some credit should be given for them getting to this point after facing some adversity, but it's not even an issue of the Sixers having leads. It's holding the lead. Like, they can get the lead, but it's holding the lead, which they were able to do tonight.
So when they went up by, I think at one point 26, did you feel comfortable with that lead tonight in Game 6? Did you feel comfortable?
I didn't. I didn't feel comfortable. It was getting the lead. It was holding the lead that I was focused on, and there was a couple of moments there where the Raptors were trying to make a run, but the Sixers responded with some good baskets, and the better team won. So, and I think that the better team – I don't think the better team won last year when Ben Simmons made that pass. I just think that the Sixers beat themselves because they had so many great leads, and obviously the Hawks' Cinderella season came to an end. But I feel like the Sixers are in a good position if they can be as healthy as they can. They kind of wasted, some of that momentum by losing Game 5, where they would have had more time to rest. But Harden looked like he tweaked his ankle at some point there, where I think it was OG Anunoby, didn't give him room to land, and the refs didn't even call a foul. I mean, it was some crazy stuff in this game. At that point, where Harden twists his ankle and then Doc ends up getting the tech because the refs didn't call a foul. And then the whole Embiid and Chris Boucher thing under the basket, where they review whether Embiid had a flagrant on Boucher, but didn't say anything about Boucher grabbing Embiid's ankle on the way back down the floor. And, whatever. The refs are going to be the refs, but the Sixers is all about surviving and advancing. And now what we need to do, Ben, is try to get them to send us to South Beach to record the podcast. I think that's what
that would be a blast. You know what? That'd be a blast.
What?
Because the pod will be live with Danny Pommells from South Beach, and I would not be there. That's why it would be lit. Yeah, Travis, make that happen.
I just want to wear the, the 4 buttons open on the shirt. You know what I mean? warm air blowing on me.
Asking random people, yo, if just getting that lotion, that suntan right between the shoulder blades, it's hard to reach back there. I would be most definitely down to do a live pod from South Beach. Speaking of live pods, shout out to everyone once again that came to Urban Saloon on Saturday. It was a blast.
Yeah, it was great, bro. So obviously more of that for those people out there listening. We will at some point be at Urban Saloon here as the second round comes. One of those away games. I think the schedule right now, game 1 is Monday, 2 is Wednesday, Friday, and then Sunday. So I think 4 games next week. So make your plans accordingly. Games 1 and 2 would be in Miami, 3 and 4 would be in South Philly, and then 5, 6, 7 they will alternate. So did I do the math right there?
Something like that. I don't know. I'm not
2, 3, 2.
I got this. I got this. I got the Eagle iPod. Will be a new Eagle iPod in the morning. There's a lot going on. Danny, I know we're wrapping soon because you got TV responsibilities.
Yes.
Couple questions for you. One, did you listen to the last pod we had back for the first time in a long time? Paul Hudrick on.
I did see Paulie Huds. Yes.
So
he did a great job.
He did a great job. Did you get my Sheets joke?
You like Sheets over Wawa?
Oh, no, you did not get my Sheets joke, or maybe you just don't remember it. I was talking about David Duke Jr. All right, and the second thing, I'm going to let that – you might get that later when you're on live TV.
Okay, I'll let it process. Maybe I'll come back in the next pod and talk about the previous pod.
Oh, man, Travis might hear this. The second thing, all right, predictions for the second round in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, are we talking about just for the Sixers, right?
Sixers as well as Celtics Bucks.
I like Celtics. I'll do that one first because that's easier for me. Because Chris Middleton probably, based on the last thing I read, he's going to miss the whole series. So I think that is difficult for the Bucks to pick up his slack. And the Celtics have gotten Robert Williams back, who looks pretty good. So, and they've already established themselves as a team that seems to be a team of destiny in some ways of getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't know about where they go after that, but I like the Celtics for those reasons, although Giannis is a monster and can pick up, cause issues for anyone. As far as the Sixers series goes, I can see them splitting 2 games in Miami. Games 3 and 4 in South Philly, the Sixers just play better on the road. So I could see it being 2-2 after they leave South Philly for game 4, and then back in Miami for game 5. I think that's going to be the game that decides the series. So if the Sixers are healthy, I'm worried about Joel's thumb a little bit, although I didn't see him favoring it. I didn't see him, nursing it or whatever. So I'm going to say Sixers in 6 again. I think that they can win game 5 and 6 and then finish them off in 6. So 4 games to 2, Sixers in 6 is what I'm going with.
Okay. I like that. My prediction is something similar. I have the Celtics beating the Bucks in 6 games. The Celtics have probably been the best team in the East since Christmas, definitely since New Year's. Ime got those guys moving the ball around and playing defense. I don't think people realize how good of a all-around player Jason Tatum has become. The defensive metrics has him as the best defensive player in the NBA this year. So I have the Celtics in 6. Between the Heat and the Sixers, I got Sixers in 7. I don't feel comfortable going any less than that, but I do think the Sixers will pull it off on the road in South Beach. Sixers in 7. Sixers, Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. That's how I see it playing out.
Ooh, it will be a good one. Definitely maybe some room to get some time to breathe and kind of recalibrate before Monday and enjoy some of these other things going on in the Philly sports scene before we refocus back on the Sixers. But a lot going on. We'll be here with you every step of the way. And make sure to check out Noah Levick's work on NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. Hey, we'll give you our full schedule as we know it when we'll be back out in the community, hopefully at the Urban Saloon specifically. But be sure to come out and check us out chop it up with us, shake some hands, and let us know how you feel about us, especially Ben Berry. He's a big teddy bear, so you would love meeting him in person. But with Ben Berry and Noah Levick, I'm Danny Pommells. Thanks for listening to the Sixers Talk podcast, brought to you by Wilmington University. WilmU works. We'll see you next time.